In this video, we will present a learning scenario of the activity catching healthy food and the composition of the entire code. In this activity, the player will have to catch the food. He has to be careful because only healthy food brings points. Students have to program two different sprites: a girl who gives instruction, tells what to do to start the game and count points, and food which is randomly falling from the top of the screen. Additionally, students can add a variable and if statement for preventing the food movement before a girl stops talking. From the previous activities, students already know how to add text for a sprite, how to show and hide sprite, how to use pointing direction, how to use random, how to use variables for counting points, how to use loop repeat and forever loop, and how to use conditionals. In this activity, students will learn to use a variable for preventing the game to start and if statement for checking if the food can start moving, to use loop repeat for food's movement, to use pointing direction 190 for sprites moving down, to use random for picking number of steps and to move to a random position, and to use random to move to random X and fixed Y position. The expected duration of the activity is 45 minutes. Students can work individually or in pairs. The role of the teacher is to help them and to explain the more complex parts. Now we will see the composition of the entire code. The template contains the background and the girl's sprite. The girl will give some instructions at the beginning and then she will hide. Let's click on the code to test it. If you click on the code again, the girl stays hidden, so we'll put a block show at the beginning. We will return to this sprite later. Let's write a code for a fruit now. Now we will add a new sprite, for example, an apple. First we have to program a sprite movement, which is from top to bottom, so we will use a block pointing direction, and we will select down. Clicking on the code, we can see that the sprite is facing down. If we don't want that the apple is upside down, we can choose the third option in direction block, which is don't rotate. Then we will add a block for movement. To make a game more interesting, a number of steps can be randomly chosen, so the speed will not be always the same. We will choose a block pick random. Let's leave it for now from 1 to 10. Clicking on blocks, we can see that the speed of the apple's movement is random. At the beginning, we can slightly reduce the sprite, let's say to 80%. Next step is to think about what happens when the apple comes to the bottom of the screen. In this case, students can use block touching edge in combination of if statement. If the apple touches the edge, it will be moved on some random position. Blocks for movement offers us this block, go to random position. This command will randomly choose X and Y coordinates and the apple could appear everywhere on the screen. If you want the apple to appear always on the top of the screen, this means somewhere here. The Y value can be fixed and only the X value will be picked randomly. so we will use the code go to x and y coordinates. For y we can write, for example, 150, while x will be a random number between minus 200 and 200. If we test the code now, we can see that the apple always appears on the top of the screen. Now we return to the girl's sprite. We will make a variable which we will use to count points. We put this block at the beginning and set it to 0. Now we will move back to the apple code. If we want the apple to move repeatedly, we need a loop. We will use a loop repeat until and set a condition. This part of the code has to be inside the loop. We want the game to finish when we reach 5 points, so the condition will be points equal to 5, and the loop will repeat until the condition is false. When the condition is true, this is when the player reaches 5 points, the loop will stop. We click on the code to test it. The code works, but the apple moves too fast, so we will change number of steps, and instead of 10, we can write, for example, 2. We don't want that the apple is shown at the beginning, but after the girl gives an instructions. We will program the apple to show when key is pressed. Of course, we have to add a block show before the loop repeat and hide after that. Now we have to think about what happens when the apple is clicked. First, the apple has to hide. Then we have to count points. The apple has to move to a random position. We can duplicate the previous code. And then the apple has to show again. Let's test it by clicking on the apple. The apple hides and reappears on another position, and points increases when we click on the apple. When the player reaches 5 points, the girl has to reappear and say, for example, "Congratulations, you have collected enough healthy food." We will also need a loop forever, which will constantly check if the player has reached 5 points. Now we will test the game. We can see that what is inside the loop forever will not stop implementing, so we will have to use block stop all and put it inside if statement. When playing the game again, students will already know all the instructions, so they will surely want to skip them. They can press the S key before, so the game will begin, but the girl will still be talking. To prevent that, we can create another variable and name it, for example, start, which has to be set at 0 at the beginning. Then, after the girl's instruction, the variable start will change to 1. Now we have to program the apple to start only if the variable start is equal to 1. With this, students won't be able to run a game before the girl stops talking. Another thing can happen when we play the game again. If we stop the game when we have, for example, 3 points, the apple will not disappear. In this case, when starting the game again, the apple will be visible before the girl ends with giving instructions. Since we do not want this, we add a code that apple hides at the beginning of the game. The code for the girl and the apple is finished now. Since we want to have more food and not just one apple, we can duplicate the sprite and change the costume. The code will be the same. The only change is with the unhealthy food, where the player will lose 1 point. If this happens, we have to reduce the y-coordinate because the sprite touches the edge. Instead of 150, we will write 130. Instead of using variables and conditionals for preventing the game to start, we could use broadcasting. As you can see, the code would have some changes with this. We will take a closer look at how to use broadcast in the next activity. When solving the task, students can help with the prepared instructions. For more information, visit the project website.